On page 2-15, we are going to look at taking a monomial, so one term, to another exponent, so a power of a monomial. So when you have a power to a power, you multiply, so x to the a times b. So we're going to do the odd ones on this video, and then we'll do the even ones on another video. So for this one, again, you leave the base, in this case 8, the same, and you do 2 times 5 to give us 10, 8 to the 10th. Number 3, you keep the bottom 4, multiply to get -4 for your exponent. Again, we can't have negative exponents, so 1 over 4 to the 4th. Number 5, again, you leave the 10, -3 times -7 is positive 21. So 10 to the positive 21. Notice we take the parentheses out because that's just separating the two powers. If you have a negative, so like in number 2, then you would leave the -15 in parentheses. So those are with the numbers. Same thing with the variables. X stays. 9 times 3 is 27. Number 9, we would have k to the -20. So then that needs to be 1 over k to the positive 20. Number 11, you're going to do each one separately. It's just like distributing. So m to the -6, n to the positive 24. So then the m needs to go to the bottom. N to the 24 over m to the 6th. Now, if you have a number and then a variable, so make sure you notice the difference between, in 13 we have a number that does not have an exponent, and then the variable that does have an exponent. In these first few, the number went to the exponent, so that's why you left the 8. Okay, so now what you are doing, and I'm going to write this one out, you are actually doing 3 squared times x to the 7th squared. So you need to square both things. You don't do 3 times 2, okay, because 3 is the actual number. So if it helps you to write those out as 2 separate things, then do that. So this becomes 9x to the 14th. So you actually do 3 squared, which I have written here, which is 9, and then 7 times 2 to get x to the 14th. So for 15, again, if you can remember to do them separately without writing it out, that's fine. Otherwise, take the minute to do 10 squared x to the 7th squared. Just separate them. So 10 squared is 100 x to the 14th. (17), again, you're just going to do each thing separately. So we would have 2 to the 6th, p squared on the inside, 6 on the outside, q to the 5th to the 6th. So again, if that's something that you think you need to do, then you need to make sure you take the time to write those extra things out. Okay, so 2 to the 6th is 64, p to the 12th. So you multiply your little numbers. P to the 12th, q to the 30th would be your final answer. 19, same thing. 4 squared c to the negative 9th squared d squared squared. So again, if you are able to do that just by looking at it and knowing you square each thing, that's great. If not, write it out. We would get 16 c to the negative 18th, because we're multiplying, d to the positive 4th. So again, this goes down to the bottom. So 16d to the 4th over c to the 18th. (21) is really tricky. What I would recommend doing is taking this whole thing to the bottom. So it looks like that. If you have a whole exponent to a negative, or a whole set of parentheses to a negative exponent, take the whole thing down to the bottom. The reason I say that is because if most people do this, they're going to either put negative 10 or negative 25, which is incorrect. Okay, a negative exponent again goes to the bottom. So now I can make this 1 over 5 squared is 25, k to the 12th. So if you have a whole parentheses to a negative exponent, move that whole thing down to the bottom. (23), you're going to first have to deal with this. You can't multiply when you have an exponent on the outside. So we do 6 squared is 36, w to the 16th times 5w to the 3rd. So 36 times 5 is 180. W, add your exponents to get the 19. Now 25, you can do it one of two ways. You can take the 2 to everything and then combine them. It's actually easier if you combine them first. So 5 times 3 is 15, p to the 7th. Remember, you're adding your exponents when they're being multiplied on the inside. That whole thing in parentheses squared. So then you do 15 squared, which is 225, p to the 14th, 7 times 2. (27), same thing, we need to take care of this first before we can divide. So leave the 56k to the 28th on the top. Negative 2 to the 3rd is negative 8. K to the 24th. So that becomes negative 7k to the 4th. (29) is addition. So as you can see, your exponents don't match right now. So hopefully they will match after you get this part done. So first we need to do negative 4 to the 3rd power, which gives us negative 64. Okay, negative 4 to the 3rd power is negative 64. M to the 6th, when we multiply our exponents, n to the 21. So it does match. So then I'm going to bring the 40, m to the 6th, n to the 21 straight down. So since our 64 was negative, we can just leave it as a minus sign. So since they match, we do 40 minus 64 to give us negative 24, m to the 6th, n to the 21st.